Welcome to Hair Emporium Unplugged. This is the second story in a series called Tales of the Cryptic Chair, or Behind the Cryptic Chair. And that would be my chair. So let's start this share and talk about hairdressing, because it's going to get hot. Hey, Facebook. It's me. You know, the holistic stylist. The girl that loves everybody. Remember me? The girl that doesn't give up. That one. So, I was doing my live stream, and for some reason it didn't work. So we're going to see if this live stream is actual real thing going on, or if it's all on the edge of reality, right? Okay. So I already got my camera up, which means I cannot change that direction. And there we are. So let me get back to this and start again. My name is Suze Pratt. I'm known as the holistic stylist now. And I have, for the majority of my life, 30 years, ran a small business, sole proprietor, called the Hair Emporium. And so I make this video in response to what happened yesterday, which would be the 22nd, I believe, of October 2017. St. Louis local media said that they're going to go to the hairdressers and the barbers and get them to be spokespeople for STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. And this is a very dangerous hot button topic, because in the standard textbook of cosmetology, which is what we all study out of, we're strongly discouraged to speak about sex, politics, or religion. So I find it difficult and curious to know how we're not supposed to talk about sex when we talk about STDs. So I made a video about it. You can find it on YouTube. It's called Media Decides Barbers, Hairdressers to be STD Shills. Now today, especially with my live stream not being trustworthy, I'm going to get to telling you a story that comes out of the archives of my life. Instead of doing our comparisons then and now, we'll save those for the end. But the name of this story is The Ogre, the Lion, and the Princess Go to State Board. This never-ending fairy tale story, if you want to believe it to be gossip, is set in the 80s. And so we have this old greasy troll, and he runs the biggest hair salon in North County. Well, you see, he had his little group where, you know, he was like the king and told them all what to do. So we have the lion in this story. And the lion is told that they got to speed things up. And what that means in hairdresser terms is the state board law is very specific on the amount of hours that a practicing cosmetology student needs to be in school every day. So this lion ran the beauty school, you see, and she was friends with the troll, of course. They went way back. And the princess girl, she was a little beautiful girl, and she worked behind the desk at this hair salon. And of course, she went to beauty school. So the job of the lion was to clock her out even though she wasn't there, and falsify the paperwork, you know, for the King of State Board, right? Well, see, the other peasants that were in school at the time, they were jealous of the princess anyhow. I mean, shoot. Little blonde bombshell, cute as could be. And so the peasants decided to revolt. And what they did was they made one of those naughty phone calls. And they told on the lion. And of course, in our state laws, if you falsify records, you could be fined up to $1,000 and go to jail for a year. The lion didn't want to go to jail. And the lion didn't want to have to lie. You know, it was like a thorn in her paw, right? Well, anyhow, state board was going to have her little trial, and she called the ogre, or the troll, whatever you want to call the greasy little guy. And she says, hey, I've been your friend, your confidant, I've trusted you, I've done what you said, and now I prepare to go to the gallows. What are you going to do? So, of course, this entity had lots of connections, just like we see today. You know, certain odd things happen and little proof of a hand. So, anyhow, he went there and cleared everything up for the lion, so she didn't have to go to jail or pay $1,000 fine. And so I guess the moral of the story with this is that you can think, that you can run and hide. You might think that you can mess with those hands on the clock, but in the end, there's always going to be a source that knows. And unfortunately, in this day and age, everybody wants to cage the lion, right? So it was time for that story to come out, and I would have liked to told it better. There's not much more to the story, really. I just need to document these things because, like I said, when we are at a week in history where they want to put the hairdresser and the barber, the people that are really into community, on that very chopping block, especially when our industry faces deregulation. And so many people think, well, why not deregulate hairdressers? Because any moron could, you know, do a basic haircut. I mean, we got a Flowbee on the wall over there. I mean, no insult, right? And of course, the cartoons from the Jetsons suggested that we'd go under a supersonic helmet and have a new do. And I do have a game about that where you can find out what hairstyle you wear today. But you see, this all goes back to 100-year history of the unwinding of what we know to be reality. And so in the Depression, there were only a few places that were open for business where people could go just to have a break or to speak easy, right? And one, of course, was the hair salon. The other was the barber shop, because, you know, back then it was not unisex salons like it is today, no doubt. And they were governed by two different bodies, you know, two different powers. The last place where you could go and speak easy was in an underground bar, you know, Prohibition years and things like that. So here's my thoughts, is if you give this job to people that have to work for corporations where they're allowed 15 or 20 minutes for a haircut, and of course that corporation would be a subsidiary of a larger corporation, you know, the parent company or whatever they call them. Well, surely whatever they wanted that hairdresser or barber to do, it would become like second nature, like in the 90s. If you weren't a good hairdresser, You weren't selling product. It had nothing to do with your skill. That also was a takedown of small business, no doubt. But what deregulation is really over is something to turn sister against sister and brother against brother. So you cannot, hey, I should check my live stream first before I say this. Hang on. Okay, everything's cool. So you see, you cannot tell a group of humans, whether they are African American, whether they are Caribbean, it doesn't matter what race they are. If braiding is passed down in that family, just like basket weaving, just like an art or a trade, anything that you do with your hands, you see, you can't tell that person that they're not allowed to do that. And so that's created a huge war in the hair industry, many of you know, because I'm sorry, but everybody's wearing weave, even if they're white girls with good hair, and everybody knows it's true. So you see, you could go to a salon and have to spend easily double. I know it's more like triple, but I want to keep it simple. They'd go and spend a fortune there to have someone who was not as competent as a person that had been doing it ever since they were walking, pretty much. Well, why wouldn't they want to save money in these trying times? And surely, by law, if you have a salon and you choose to allow someone to braid in your salon and pay booth rent, you see, that's legal. And that's good, and it should be that way. But you see, while everybody's arguing about tit for tat and who's going to get the money, the real reason goes back to money as always. So they have put on paper, I've seen it, I've seen the accusations. I can't say I have it right here on me. But there are many that believe that these state boards don't handle their money properly. Their money comes from all of our license fees. So here again, if you're trying to bring down the community and not have any happy hope for anybody, first thing you take out is the hairdressers and the barbers. And we have a different role now to play as holistic stylists and healers and confidence and counselors, spiritual researchers like myself. The industry's changing, just like our world. And we have good times to look forward to. So, since my stream worked, let me just go over the then and now, because I thought it was really cute. And I was all into it earlier when my live stream shut down. Okay, so then and now. And the first one that we're going to do is pantyhose. And the reason why is because when I became a hairdresser, a licensed cosmetologist, in 1983, see, I worked at a salon, believe it or not, inside what we would now know as Target. Back then they were called Venture. And it was the Glenby Corporation. So if you were really cool, you did hair at the famous bar. And if you were a girl from the wrong side of the tracks, you know, you worked at Venture. But anyhow, even if you worked at Venture, you had to wear heels, right? And I don't wear heels, for anybody that knows me. So the last time I wore heels to work was 1983. I worked there 3 months and said, blow me sideways, when they didn't care about a lice outbreak, which is also against our state laws. See, we're not supposed to be doing people's hair or analyzing their skin if they have a communicable disease, and STDs are just that very thing. So these days, when I see women out and about, and I'm talking about with, you know, diva outfits and such, there are no pantyhose anymore. And so in the salon, if you would have been bare-legged in the day that our state law that we still have to adhere to was written, see, you would be in a health violation because somehow your foot might contaminate your client. I don't know if people were doing hair with their feet or, I wasn't there. But I know there's people that don't have arms that do great things with their feet. The point is, look at these days. Now we're in the modern times again. Everybody knows how many people got toe fungus. Don't act like people don't know. And, for the females that like to go to those cheap shops and do the in and out thing, they know the story about barrier language and shaving too much skin off and catching a nasty case of Lord knows what. So it is a serious subject. And of course, in our industry, in my eyes, we won't be whole until we first do no harm. So that's my statement on nylons. Oh, but wait, one more thing if you want to save the world. Okay, believe it or not, over a decade ago, there were some college kids that crammed a bunch of hair clippings from hair shops into pantyhose, threw them out in the ocean, it soaked up the oil spills, and they won a big prize in college. Earlier, when I was going through this the other time, I had brought something out that I've done for the last 20 years, is save and store hair and make a hair bank for human hair color swatches. So, you see, human hair is great for your garden. It'll keep pests away. It's great to soak up oil spills, say on your parking lot or your driveway. You could also make an accurate hair color chart if you are a professional licensed cosmetologist and you wanted to see how the color was going to turn out before you executed it on your client friend person. But the reason why this was so highly discouraged, you see, is because they can find out everything about your DNA through hair, right? So I guess that's why that idea is difficult to deal with. But of course, so is an idea that they could take your hair or your skin or whatever and make what they call an organic robotoid. This is real. So I wonder if I busted the stream. I gotta be so careful. It's like it's a BFD when everybody knows what's going on, right? All right, so next subject is Elvis. I mean, come on. It wouldn't be a 420 show anywhere in Sue's world if I wasn't pulling that in somehow. So a couple weeks ago, my client brought me this lovely paper because she knows I don't participate in mainstream media. I'm not watching the dopey news unless I'm getting a clip, right? But this is called Best of Remind. And so she said, I know you know everything about Elvis, but I thought you'd like this. And so we've got all this great memorabilia. And of course, I will be photographing this and sharing this, but we have Sonny and Cher. We have on the newsstand over the years, Time and Life, National Geographic. And see, this is why hair shops always are, always have been, and always will be hubs of community. So time capsules, top TV, popular films, some Jimmy Stewart, Elizabeth Taylor, and of course Doris Day, Eddie Fisher, Esther Williams, and Peter Noon, Tom Jones, Hunka Hunka Man 2, and of course on the back, the ultimate Anne Margaret, right? So how nice was that? But here's the funny story. Okay, so back in the 90s, Elvis came out of nowhere and he was the poster child for Big Sexy Hair, which is a professional brand of hair care. And it's like, damn, where'd they get those pictures? That doesn't look like Elvis. Exactly, you know? And just now, 2016, premiere edition on the back of Man magazine, which is the business of men's grooming. Here we have American Crew, the king of men's grooming, presents the ultimate style icon for men, Elvis Presley. And this is American Crew. And this is all copyrighted and protected and trademarked and all those things. So isn't that interesting? Right there. But see, that's why they needed a hairdresser to be the spiritual researcher on the Presley mystery. Who else would know so much about eye shape, skin color, you know, different types of skin, different facial shapes and structures. And of course, we have two facial shape structures for the International Man of Mystery Tour. We even have a third face, but you guys already know about that too. Okay, so the last thing that I want to discuss before I take these stupid heels off is State Board. And so that's our governing body, and we were talking about that. So I guess I really already covered State Board. But, you know, back in the day, of course, I knew all the State Board inspectors, and there were two Darlenes, Darlene Cox, Darlene Pendleton, ran in succession of one another, great women. And like I said, State Board, Missouri state law says that their laws supersede and override local ordinance. So I'm in a town where their local ordinance is I'm a piece of shit and I'm not allowed to use my hands anywhere. And they couldn't support me, and I wondered why. I already know I'm targeted, see, but the whole point is it all had to do with sex, politics, and religion. Not of mine, of theirs. So, looks like we got a storm coming. I can see it blowing in from the west. Okay, now, let me get myself full screen. Stop that share. And I wanted to add something in that I had saved a long time ago. And I was looking through my saved stuff, and nobody should be surprised that I found this. So I'm going to zip you over to my Sue's Pratt the Holistic Stylist page. All right. We got to get to Sue's. Can I get there this way? We'll see in a minute. Doesn't look like that's working. What about this? Okay, so where are we? I've got so much on my mind. So we're going to go to Sue's Pratt, the Holistic Stylist. I'm going to read you something. Okay. This is an article called Judge Rules Against Missouri Hair Braiders Appeal Planned. This has seen 53 views since I put it up 23 hours ago on my little piss-ass page. So you can only imagine how many people have seen this. And this is under the title of Law and Order. It is written by Jim Salter of the Associated Press, and it was posted on September 21st, 2016. We have Christine McLean, and she's braiding Nivea Earl's hair at her shop, LaBelle Professional Hair Braiding, in Little Rock, Arkansas. And that's Tuesday, 17th, 2014. African-style hair braiders in Missouri, Arkansas, and Washington are challenging state cosmetology licensing requirements as part of a coordinated legal campaign that opposes increased government regulation of small business. And this photo is by Danny Johnson. Okay, it says a federal judge upheld Missouri's licensing requirement for African-style hair braiders, despite claims from braiders that the process is irrelevant to what they do, unnecessary and expensive. U.S. Magistrate Judge John M. Bodenhausen issued the ruling Tuesday. Attorneys for two St. Louis area hair braiders, Joba Nyag and Tamika Steigers, said Wednesday that they will appeal. African-style hair braiders in other states also have challenged licensing requirements, which help from the Virginia-based Institute for Justice Braiding Freedom Initiative, which has won legal battles in some states, lost in others. Licensing coursework in Missouri covers sanitization, chemical use, and other aspects of the beauty industry, but excludes any preparation. Excuse you. Hang on just a second. That little box got me. Okay. But excludes any preparation in traditional African braiding techniques. Its practitioners say date back thousands of years. They consider it both an art form and a means of cultural expression. And I say absolutely, y'all. But see, this book was written by a white person, right? Okay. Nyag, a native of Senegal, has offered braiding services since 2001. I cannot afford to spend thousands of dollars and thousands of hours to go back to school to learn about irrelevant techniques and dangerous chemicals that I do not use at my shop, she said in a statement. Steigers has been braiding hair for about a decade. She has called Missouri's representatives unfair and unnecessary. The ruling noted that much of the traditional education and training for cosmetologists is not directly relevant to hair braiding, but still sided with the state. Institute for Justice attorney Dan Albin said in a statement that the licensing requirement is unconstitutional because it violates the right to earn an honest living free from arbitrary and irrational government regulation like these. The lawsuit named 6 members of the State Board of Cosmetology and barbers examiners, along with its executive director. A spokeswoman for the Missouri Attorney's General Office, which defended the state and its agency, declined comment. A message left with the Board of Cosmetology and barbers examiners was not immediately returned. It's all a crock of shit. More and more regulations coming down on people, taking their skills away, taking their heritage away. Pathetic. Drives me nuts. That's just my opinion. People should be free to work and earn an honest living. Now here you see, we have European's family photo. And it says this braid is sometimes called a herringbone, aka fishtail. I wrote that. But what this says, and I say this to anyone out there that knows how to braid, basket weave, plait, brush, comb, shampoo, or work on the scalp. Be brave, be strong, be traditional. And see, this white girl and her buddies are right there with what they call the African American community. There's a lot of different cultures that braid, so we will bring this into evidence, and this has nothing to do with hairdressers. This is European family. I'm going to like that page right now, as a matter of fact. Okay. So, where was I before? When I was playing you my video is the question. And of course, I don't know. So, I'm going to cut this live stream, and I'll go ahead and bring the next part of it in its own video. And what we do is we have a little tour of our home here, and then I show you my new line of spectaculars, which you really can't see. My pillow is in the way, but they're really, really super cool. So I'll leave it at that today and say namaste and peace, love, and light from the Big Yellow House on the third cosmic ray. We'll talk real soon. Thank you.